Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Tuesday Night Live podcast from the range with your host, John G. Johnson. Hello, guys. John, the firearms instructor. I hope you're having a great night. I know I am. I've been a little giddy since Trump has got the White House, he's got the Senate, and he's got the House. So we are in a trifecta, if you think about it, and we are looking good. 81 million voters voted to put Trump in the White House for 4 more years to save America. And it looks like he's going to do it. I'm pretty impressed with Vance. He's starting to get his staff around him. He's got a few Democrats that are in there. RFK is going to work on the health department. Swami is going to do some other stuff. We got Elon Musk going to be doing some stuff. It looks neat, and it looks all cool. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see that Trump won all 7 swing states. If you don't know, the Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. And she won all the ones that had no voter ID required. I should be nice. So, as a gun guy, the Democrats are always great for the gun business because they're always trying to chase, take your rights away, do all of the stuff like that where the Republicans weren't. But their people have spoken, and it wasn't a bunch of white people that put Trump in there. Looked like Trump got a large percentage of Hispanic and a large percentage of the black vote. We are and he's got a bunch of women voting for him too. So we are voting with our wallets, it seems like. We're sick and tired of the border being open and them letting millions of rapists, murderers, and killers into the United States. And that's no good. What's that for? I have no idea. I have an opinion that they were just sending them into these states that they could get more electoral votes for them. You couldn't physically vote. It is against the law for someone who is not an American citizen to vote, but I'm sure that's happened in many places. So I thought I would cover 10 topics or the Trump presidency when it comes to gun-related topics, and I'm going to leave it at that. Now we know the economy, we know foreign, we know these crazy wars that we're putting money into. Crazy Biden's sending long-range missiles to Ukraine to let them fire into Russia. What the hell's that all about? We need to get these guys out of here as quick as possible. And then he gets on the mic and then walks off into the jungle. The Amazon jungle is no joke, man. There's frogs and snakes and all kinds of stuff. We don't want him over there. But he's scary to think about. So there's a lot of stuff from Supreme rulings to federal regulations. Trump shaped the conversation around the firearm is very unique. Whether you're an advocate, concealed carry, reciprocity, red flag laws, or revising the ATF guidelines, his presidency will underscore a lot of stuff. He's going to change and make America great again, and he's going to do it one deal at a time. I don't know if you heard much about what he is doing in the gun business. In the last 4 years, he was very adamant about 2A, but he did ban the bump stock, which was kind of someone who's for 2A surely shouldn't have been banning any kind of gun-related product, but he did it. He thought that it would bring the two sides together for a conversation about bump stocks and all the other crazy things, but it didn't. It just they got to win. They got to win because they banned a product and put a company out of business. It was deemed unconstitutional after the fact, and they're trying to get him back. But he was one of the guys that was involved in this thing. So he has not been my favorite as far as that goes, because if you're going to give that up, what else are you going to give up? But I believe that time in his life, and he admitted it on the Joe Rogan podcast, that he didn't know what the hell he was doing. He didn't think he was going to win. And all of a sudden he won. And then he had to listen to a bunch of people that didn't have his back. You notice he ain't listening to nobody now. He's going to get everybody that's on his team. And if you're not on his team, you're out. And he should be looking at the FBI. He should be looking at the CIA. He should be looking at all these people that were for many, many, many years Russian hosts, Russian this, Russian that, and then turning around. And now he is seeing the light of the eyes of these people, and they're getting nervous. Look at CNN. Look at CBS. And all these people have been telling us how he's going to be this guy who's going to change and take everything away from us. And he's just doing the opposite. And now they're all eating crow. Wanting to get on the good side of the guy, because he is suing CBS for changing Kamala. Like Trump says that Kamala. They changed her speech to make it look better. They had two, and they released both of them, and they got caught. Now Trump is like, all right, do that stuff to me. It's all going to come back to you. Yeah. And then they're going to want him to turn the other cheek, which he's a better man than I would be. I'll tell you that. I'd be hammering him. I'd be hammering him hard. But you gotta, you've got to sometimes be the better man. And it looks like that's what he's going to be. So we got a few comments already. Got a bunch of them here. Okay, so gotta tell it. All right. Good morning, Michael. Hello, Kenneth. Hello. Why are we talking politics? You're right. But it has to do. It physically has R. Williams. It has to do with our gun rights, which is very important. Hello from Vermont. Hello, Jim. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Fight. That's right, Bear. That's right, buddy. Kenneth Dawson. Trump was elected by Americans who are sick of the mess that we are in. How true is that, Kenneth? Richard Shepard. Hope you're feeling better. I am feeling better. Got my ass kicked last couple of weeks. I believe last week I was still high on medication. Jose Fernandez. Hello from Puerto Rico. Hello. Is the audio back? It should be back in business. There we go. Good. All right, so let's talk. What are we looking forward to in the potential? Well, that's not potential anymore. I wrote this a while back. In the presidency, the guns and Second Amendment. So what are we looking for? Well, first and foremost, I believe the potential of the Supreme Court decisions on gun rights. Now, he's going to be able to lock in a lot of these judges, and he's going to be able to do a lot. I don't know if you've been watching, but they're trying to confirm a few of these judges before the Senate goes out for the Christmas break, which in turn, Trump's saying don't do anything until Inauguration Day, because we don't want to load up these benches with people that aren't on our side. So for potential for landmark ruling on issues like concealed carry, did you hear what Trump wants to do? He wants to make a national concealed carry permit, reciprocity. That means if your permit's good in Florida, it should be good in New York, it should be good in California, it should be good in all 50 states. Now, I don't know how that's going to work. I would not be the first person to flip out my card and drive to a place that has registration, has capacity laws, and all the other stuff, and think I'm going to be getting out. Because these state laws always trump federal laws. So we got to be careful of what they're asking for. I don't know how exactly that's going to work, but he did mention it. He said he was going to do it. He is going to sign it. He is trying to push it through. I would not be the first person to take my gun to California, though, until I figured out all the rules and regulations. Um, he's going to look at all the assault bans, the magazine capacity limits. This is the challenge when you travel. Think about, let's take New Jersey, for instance. Here's a good one, right? You're a concealed carry holder. You have a Glock 19, which has a 15-round magazines. You're a good concealed carry holder, so you always have hollow points in your weapon, and you are in New Jersey. And now you have a high capacity magazine in a state that has a 10 round or less weapon mag rule. So potentially that magazine alone, not the gun, not the hollow points, but the gun itself, the magazine itself would be a law that you were breaking, which because you have a high capacity magazine. Now, New Jersey actually has hollow point laws where you're not allowed to have a hollow point in a gun. And the hollow point they consider cop killers, but technically the hollow point, what it does is it drops most of its energy in the first 3.5 inches of the body, which causes less collateral damage, which in turn will keep you from putting something through and then traveling through and hitting other people. But in New Jersey, they're against the law. So now you have a Glock 19 with a high capacity magazine, and it's got 15 rounds plus one in the chamber, 16 of hollow points. Now you've got 16 counts against you because each bullet is a count, obviously, on top of the unregistered gun because they have registration in that state and you're a Florida resident and your gun isn't registered. So there becomes a whole weird thing. I don't know how that's going to work. We'd have to really lay out the rules and regulations to get that done. It's not as easy as signing a piece of paper. There's going to be a lot of ifs, ands, and buts about it. But I'd be very, very, very careful being the first person to do it. But he is threatening, or he is telling you your concealed carry should be available throughout on anywhere. Because if you think about it, we have US 41 here, or we have 75. You all have 75 or I-95, according to where you are on the East Coast. That 75 is the same 75 in Fort Myers as it is in Ohio, for instance. I've traveled to Ohio with my wife and my kids, and we were on 75. Unfortunately, if you're on your interstate, you're good. But every time you got off the interstate and went to a gas station, that's where all the cops would be, because then you're on some other street or something like that. So having the ability to have the national concealed carry would be awesome. Start knocking down some of these assault bans that they're trying to do. Capacity magazines, what they're trying to do. We need to get them to do. So Supreme Court decisions on gun rights would be the very first thing that Trump needs to do. And because we have the House and the Senate in these abilities to push these things through, should be a lot easier for us. And we could put these in, because remember, these Supreme Court judges and things like that are lifetime commitments. So these guys are in for 14 to 20 years. So we fill the court system up with 2A friendly judges. It looks a lot better to us and in rulings down in the past, right? So that being said, number two, we talked about it already, but Trump is going to push national concealed carry. He's renewing efforts to pass a legislation allowing concealed carry permit to be recognized across the states, simplifying travel with gun owners. This is something that's going to happen. It is something that Trump wants to get done, I believe, because Florida is such a great state. Because with the Florida concealed, they don't really have resident, non-resident situation here. You don't need to be a Florida resident or even be in Florida to get your Florida concealed. You can physically be California, any 50 of the states, and get your Florida concealed and be able to carry in 30 of the 36 states that Florida comes with. Florida's concealed carry permit comes with 36 states you're able to carry in. Well, with the national reciprocity, it's going to give you 50 states, and it's going to give you more than that. So having your concealed, a lot of people nowadays, they'll go and they'll get the state they're in, and they'll pick up Arizona, or they'll pick up a Florida, which will give them more states than their own personal state would have. So that's kind of a good thing there. And it's going to simplify you guys traveling in your vehicle, because where are you most vulnerable? In your home, in your car, in your hotel room. And being able to protect yourself as you're traveling with a firearm is your right, guys. It is your right. It's not the cop's job to defend you. It's your job to defend you. Number 3 would be the red flag laws. I don't know if you're familiar with this. This gives the judge the opportunity, if he deems you unsafe, to confiscate every weapon you have until they deem you safe. And this is a real challenge in some of the states. And 21 of the states in the United States have the red flag law, including Florida. We all talk about Florida being the gunshine state, but there are a lot of different little caveats they put in these things that kind of scare people once in a while. Red flag law is no joke. You get somebody who is vindictive and reports you as being dangerous. You have to prove yourself not dangerous, and they don't have any time frame to do this, but they'll come in and confiscate everything you own because you are deemed unsafe, which is pretty scary in the world of divorces and things like that. There could be a vindictive wife or man who reports somebody with a firearm, and then all of a sudden now you're being taken downtown, you're being Baker Act, maybe your firearms are being confiscated. Then you have to go through all this court system to get your personal rights back, and maybe even your gun rights back. So having the ability to have the right people involved to focus on implementing or refining the red flag laws for stronger protection of due process. Because when this thing starts, it's the opinion of the court until they deem you safe, which is no time limit. We need to balance public safety and constitutional rights. Yes, I do. I think that every crazy person should have a firearm. And if we deem them unsafe or they're suicidal or one of these things like that, but it's hard to look at somebody and just say, hey, this is a problematic thing. We need to make sure that the right reform laws are put in together to allow us to defend ourselves and keep defending ourselves. Number 4 is the revision of the ATF regulations. Man, I tell you what, they have been a real challenge for the gun business. With these bump stocks and then the triggers and then the brace rule, where they deemed 40 to 80 million people felons for having a brace on their gun, which they illegally bought. And then all of a sudden, when the ATF made a ruling now, not a law, made a ruling and said, hey, by the way, those are deemed to be short barrel rifles now. And if you don't fill out for your tax stamp, you are breaking the law. Now, fortunately, the judge pulled this all down and said this isn't right. But they are a agency that doesn't make laws, but they are putting down these rulings, and rulings are considered laws, and people are going to jail for having this stuff on there. Well, that's Steve Dallenbach, who runs the ATF. One of Trump's promises day one, 12:05, after his sworn in at the White House, he's firing the ATF director and putting his own ATF director in there. That's more that knows more about firearms and knows more about the rules and regulations. And they're going to revise all the controversial rulings that's put in, like such as the pistol brace. And maybe the suppressors, they're going to take away the NFA on some of the suppressor, while and still trying to make it legal for people to have this stuff. Technically, if you think about in the world of suppressors, it's the Hearing Protection Act. It was put in, but this tax stamp thing was really put together back in the old days. It's a $200 tax stamp. It's a registration of the product. You have to wait to get your stamp, and once you got your stamp, you're able to use the product. Technically, the suppressors are going really quick now. There used to be a year's wait on those things. People are getting them in 5 and 7 days now. They're doing it very quick and very fast. But technically, does it really need to be a tax stamp attached to it? Is it 16-inch barrel or a 10-inch barrel make the gun any safer or less safer? Does a stock versus a brace make the gun operable, not operable? It just silly rules, and all the ATF regulations need to be looked at. They technically have got hard on gun stores. They've got hard on area rural stores, or inner city stores, where they're selling a lot of firearms that people don't qualify, which you don't know when someone walks in the door. Do you qualify? You fill the paperwork out. But if you get 6 or 7 or 8 denies, they kind of look at that stuff, and they kind of, why are you getting all, when all the gun stores in town are not getting denials, and you're getting a large majority of your denials, or you're getting a bunch of traces. So they look at a lot of that stuff. So ATF needs to be looked at. They need to be there. It needs to be there for our protection, for public safety. But we need to make sure that it's gun friendly, not against firearms. These agencies should not be against you owning, having, possessing, and using a firearm. They make rulings, not laws. And we need to make sure that they know the understanding of the difference. Now, if you watch some of this stuff that these guys, the ATF expert could not break down a Glock on the CBS news when they were showing Steve Dallenbach, and the ATF gun expert couldn't take a Glock apart. So I don't know how expert these guys really are. It just seems like they were implemented into these positions because of their belief on what the firearm, what you should have and what you shouldn't have. So revision of the ATF ruling would be awesome. I think that's going to come right down the pipeline. A lot of us in the gun business, we are asked all the time, well, how come we don't do more on the mental health and gun ownership? And hey, I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not the person but we need to focus on mental health. What used to be a issue that was handled, and then the funding went away, and now people are dealing with the mental health on their own. So continuing focus on addressing mental health issues as a way to prevent gun violence. Gun violence basically is normally something that is seen. Chris, what'd you say? I've never taken a Glock apart, but I know how to take a Glock apart. Yeah, you're right, buddy. Yeah, that's the ATF expert. You can look it up on YouTube. It's there. He fought hard on taking that thing apart. It was funny. It was funny. So a lot of times when you kind of look at these agencies, no matter what their numbers are, when you start looking at all these shootings that happened in the past, each time that there's been one of the school shootings or one of those things like that, these people have been on a list already. But in the old agencies, they were didn't want to offend the person by taking them down and answering questions. They hadn't actually done anything wrong yet, but they were on a list. They'd been looked at, but they deemed them not dangerous, which is kind of, you know, you kind of wonder what's your job then if you're not going to protect the people in that scenario. Every time there's been a something go down, there's always been, yeah, that guy kind of was, he acted, yeah, that was part of that deal. No one said anything because no one wants to hurt anybody's feelings, but at the end of it, what if it's one of your family members? Yeah, you see something, say something, guys. That's the key thing. You know, number 6 is strengthen the Second Amendment advocacy. Trump's vocal and supporting gun rights could lead to broader protections and collaborations with pro-gun organizations to implement Second Amendment to remain a top priority. Very, very, very important. We take our Second Amendment rights for granted sometimes. Talk to people who come from countries where they're not allowed. Listen, I do a lot of business with people who come to Florida from Canada and other places and want to come here and shoot because they don't get to shoot firearms. They don't get to shoot pistols in their areas in Canada and places like that, which they deem them dangerous. They deem them, it's unnecessary in these places. But keep in mind, each one of these politicians that are writing these policies have firearms protecting them on a regular basis. So why wouldn't they want their people to be protected? Why wouldn't they want them to have their own protection instead of counting on the state or the government to have it? And they just don't want an armed society because at that point in time, it concerns them. And I heard a statement one time. I can't think of the number of guns in the United States, but you could imagine there's a bunch of them, right? And if it was truly a Second Amendment gun thing, you would know there'd be a problem, right? But the guns aren't the problem. It's the system. It's a system. It's the failure of identifying the threats that are there and not doing anything about it. It is not the firearm. And there are people, there's agencies out there that are suing manufacturers for making these firearms for the reasoning is because they think the firearm caused it, not the person. And it's so, thank you, Moff, Rod. Thank you, 100% agree. It is not the manufacturers. That's like me blaming the fork for me being fat. You just can't do it, guys. It is your responsibility. You are who you are, and you're responsible for what you do. It has nothing to do with this or that, right? And it's a sad scenario to blame an industry for all of the challenges that are happening out there in the world instead of blaming the fatherless society. Too easy to divorce, too easy to break up. There are second homes, third homes, stepdads, real dads, mothers. We need to get back to mom, dad, father, son, communication, talking. I went to the restaurant 2 weeks ago. There's mother, father, 3 kids. You know what 3 kids had? All Game Boys. I say Game Boys. Jacob gets so mad when I say that. But they had some kind of electronic device. The youngest, 4. The oldest, probably, I'd say 10, 11 years old. Mom was on her cell phone. Dad was scrolling. The kids were all doing their thing. No communication, no talking. I said to Heidi, look at that. Look at that. They're gonna melt their brains. They're gonna melt their brains because they can't think about it. They can't go outside. When's the last time you went outside and saw kids running around with dirty feet? Oh, they're all inside. They're all inside, not doing a damn thing, but watching TV or playing games, playing videos. It's a sad scenario. We hope Trump can bring America back to what it is. Number 7, you may not be a hunter or you may not be, but expand the hunting and outdoorsmen. What's happening, like in Florida and other places, is the areas that we used to use to go out. Hey, I'm born and raised right here in Cape Coral, guys. We used to go to the end of Del Prado, where Del Prado and Kismet were. That was just woods, guys, and we'd go back in there and hunt around, and we shoot some hogs and dove hunt and stuff like that. Yeah, you can't do any of that stuff in Florida. Land is so expensive that if we don't get these properties bought up and conservative to be able to use these management areas, what's gonna keep it from becoming more and more? You wonder why the coyotes and the foxes and the bears are in these areas, because we are in their areas. We've taken their land away. And then when you get a bear that eats your trash, you call the guys, and the guys come and get the bear and take it out to another place. And then that gets encroached, and then they have to remove it again. And then it becomes too much of a nuisance, then they have to kill it. So it's kind of it's a scenario, but the more policies to support hunters, including access to public land and reduce restrictions on firearms for hunting and recreational use. Well, you don't hear much about that, but there are lands being blocked on a regular basis. That access used to be available. Now it's available to the highest bidder. So you get these agencies that come in and put these conservative lands together, and then some guy comes up with a large amount of money and leases the track and stops all access. Stops all access. Now we as hunters and we as people go to the woods and things like that, we need to remember that that isn't our property. It's everyone's property, and we need to support it like that, clean up after ourselves. I know I've been in the woods multiple times, and I carry out more shit than I bring in because there's a Coke can or somebody leaves some shit behind that they don't think about. They don't think, no, that's going to be a problem. It becomes a problem because when you get landowners and you go and you find that there's crap left by somebody, then all of a sudden they stop us using those properties because of that. Number 8 would be boosting gun manufacturers and sales. We're likely to continue to have higher gun sales, domestic firearm manufacturers, pro-gun companies. They're all going to start coming back here because now the gun manufacturers that were leaving, they were leaving these states. Smith & Wesson left Massachusetts. They'd been there for how many years, and they left because of agency Braddock bullshit. Smith & Wesson was sued for making a rifle in one of the school shootings, and that state wanted to put Smith & Wesson and Ruger and all those companies like that on warning about selling firearms. And they moved out, went to other gun-friendly places. And this is what's happening. This is what's happening throughout the United States. So Trump's going to work with the manufacturers to get them back into our areas. He's already doing that with the car manufacturers. He's already doing that. So the gun manufacturers just the same. we want to get these industries back going, and it's going to support us to completely. Uh, he's going to empower self-defense advocates, renewing renewing emphasis on firearms as an essential tool for self-defense. He's going to say it like I say it. Uh, you are your first line defense. It's not the cop's job to save your life. It's your job to save your life. We are lucky we live in Florida, where Florida has two major laws here. We have Castle Doctrine and Stand Your Ground, which allows us as homeowners and individuals and renters and people who live, and it says that your home is your castle and anything that's in it is yours. And if someone's in your home and they're uninvited, not mother-in-law uninvited, like really uninvited. If they're in your home and they're uninvited and it's an assumption or presumption they are a threat, and you are allowed to protect yourself. And then stand your ground is anywhere else besides your interior of your home, allows you to protect yourself as long as threats meet threats. In other words, if he's hitting you with a pool noodle, you can't knock him down with a 9. That becomes a little bit of a test there. So he'll renew emphasis on firearms as an essential tool for self-defense, home security, potentially encouraging more training and education narratives, and for responsible gun ownership. Guys, as a firearms instructor, I find this kind of neat. I find this as sort of a weird scenario. All right. So, in the state of Florida, you cannot buy a motorcycle in the state of Florida without having your motorcycle endorsement. What does that mean? That means you have to take a class, you have to go 2 weekends, you have to drive a motorcycle around in a school parking lot, and then get your endorsement to be able to drive your motorcycle on the streets of Florida. You know what you got to do to buy a gun in Florida? You know what you got to do? Nothing. You can buy a firearm, never shoot one before in your life. Guy at the gun store sells it to you. Once you bake your 3-day wait, out the door you go. Now, do I think Florida needs to have a mandatory training class? Absolutely not. I think Florida doesn't need to have any kind of mandatory anything. Do I think everyone should take a class to make you more proficient and safer with a firearm? Yes, it just makes sense if you think about it. Why does Florida force everyone that owns a motorcycle to take a motorcycle class? Because they know motorcycles are deemed dangerous, and they need to make sure everyone knows how to control them and be a defensive driver, because they become a target in the middle of winter when we have all of our winter residents here, and it becomes more of a defensive driving class than it is anything else. So I still think that it's interesting that they force people to get that to be able to drive a motorcycle, but they don't put any kind of emphasis on training or anything else before someone can purchase a pistol. I know it's a Second Amendment thing, and I realize that. And I'm not trying to be, I guess I am. I'm being biased, right? Because I do it for a living, and I see how many dangerous people come into the gun store and don't know what the hell they're doing. And it scares me to think about people who go to these concealed carry classes, shoot one round, and that qualifies you to carry a weapon in the state of Florida. Now, anybody with brains would know I probably should know just a little bit more than that before I start carrying, and most people do. That's part of the deal. Concealed carry for us has never been it's been our business, but it's always been a hook for us. Because when I have someone come to class, I want them to take a training class with us where I can get them comfortable to be able to do what they need to do. Remember, like anything else, they give you your restrictor's license in Florida at 15 to get to drive for a full year before you get out on the streets by yourself. And at 16, you can drive by yourself. But at 15, you have to drive with a parent or an adult. So I think this is something that we could probably work on some kind of thing. Anybody with some education would know I probably should know a little bit more than I should when it comes to firearms. Just my opinion, guys. You can comment the way you want to, but in the realm of things, I think it would be a lot safer place if everyone knew what the hell they were doing and they're not pinching their fingers, cutting themselves. I go through more Band-Aids back there than anything because people don't know how to hold a firearm. And they think they know how to hold a firearm, and they go back there, and then all of a sudden they pinch themselves. Or they put the thumb in the wrong spot, or they do something else. So it's kind of a, you know, 2 minutes back there with an instructor will benefit anybody compared to just winging it. All right. Number 10, he's going to navigate the federal versus state laws. There is a lot of difference between federal laws and state laws. And remember, I told you before, the state law comes first and then it's federal law. We need to strengthen the federal laws, rights, and protections while addressing the tensions with the stricter state law regulations, fostering the debate of balance of state versus federal. You know what? My challenge of all this stuff is when the state, federally, if the gun is inoperable, you should be able to travel. And this is on federal law. If the gun's inoperable, if a semi-automatic pistol, you take it apart, put one part over there, gun's not usable, you should be able to travel through all 50 states, no problem. That doesn't work in the state situation. State situation is a lot different, right? Some of the states, like in Florida, we're not duty to tell. So we're traveling in a vehicle and we have a gun in our vehicle and we get stopped by a cop. We're not required to tell them that we have a gun in our vehicle. You should tell them, obviously, but we're not required by law. Where in Georgia, you are mandatorily required to tell them. And if you don't, you're breaking the law. So when they start marking all this little caveats of this law versus that law, well, who's got to be the attorney to figure out all this stuff as you travel throughout these, without all these state laws coming through and everything else like that? So it's somewhat, there's some dicey stuff coming down the pipeline. I believe that Trump's going to do a lot of good for the gun industry. He's going to do a lot of good for our self-defense rights. He's going to do a lot of stuff for concealed carry. He's going to do a bunch of stuff for the community. He's going to do a lot of stuff for these crazy wars that we're in. He's going to bring boys home. He's going to do a lot of stuff that's going to position us to make America great again. I am excited to think about where we're going to be in the next 2 to 4 years. And if they put the right people in positions, like the Supreme Court and things like that, we may be able to have this extend for a long, long, long time. The people have spoken. They're tired of what's going on with the world we live in today. They're tired of not living the best we can. They're tired of paying $4 for gas and $4 for eggs, and they spoke, and they want change. And Mr. Trump is going to bring America back again. So I'm excited. I hope and pray that we get everything we want. I think that I saw something yesterday or the day before, and I don't know if you've been following any of RFK stuff, but the health regulations in the United States is so crazy. There was a thing on TikTok, and I thought this is the neatest thing ever. They showed ketchup Now, ketchup, Heinz ketchup, okay? Heinz ketchup in the United States had high fructose corn syrup. It had corn syrup. It had some kind of other ingredient, and it had like four other things in it, right? So it was like 16 items in ketchup. Canada's bottle of ketchup has 5 items in it. And none of them was fructose, high fructose, no sugar, none of that stuff like that. And so I go back and look at when we were kids. There was 3 fat kids that we knew, and their mom and dad were heavy, and it was just one of those hereditary things, right? And we go back to school when all of us were eating peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I lived my whole life. I'm talking 21, 22 years old, eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. These kids can't take peanut butter to school because of the all peanut allergies. Peanut allergies. We lived our life on peanuts. Now there are kids that have allergies. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of stuff is being issued to us through our food and through our, what's being out there. That they're adding to these things, the ingredients. Some of the food that we have, what is Doritos? I think it was Doritos or something like that, or one of the chips ain't even allowed in Canada. It's against law to have in Canada. Someone told me. So you got to think that if we can get Elon Musk to do his stuff and kind of tighten up the numbers there, and Trump to do what he needs to do with the Second Amendment, and we start getting all this stuff going on, the ATF gets changed, we're going to be in a different world, guys, and things are going to be a lot better. So I hope I did not bore you tonight with this. I hope I did not step on anybody's toes, but it's okay if we disagree on some of this stuff. I'm okay. I'm a big boy. I can take it. But I appreciate each and every one of you coming here every week to help me out tremendously. A couple things I need you to do real quick for me. I want to talk to you about subscribing, hitting the bell icon, the like, and subscribe button. You guys that are commenting, thank you so much, because they see that and they want to push it out to other people. Make sure you're watching some of our YouTube stuff. Make sure you're hitting our Facebook and our Instagram and all that stuff like that. There are a lot of stuff. We do have a new ebook out. I wanted to tell you guys about that real quick, just to give you a little pop here real fast. The ebook right now, it's downloadable. It's how to properly hold a pistol. It's going to be in the links below, and that's going to give you the ability to improve your accuracy very quickly, and it explains a lot of that stuff. We've done a couple ebooks. That's that one. There is the 10 Secrets of a Firearms Instructor. And then the very last one is Why You Shoot Low and Left. And that was the very first book we did. And those all are available through our website, and they are available for our YouTube channel. And we are at $3.99 on those. And that newest one will improve your accuracy guaranteed by getting the proper grip. That being said, God bless you guys. God bless Trump, and hopefully God bless America. We need to get back to what it used to be. Until next time, I love you very much. I'll go back up and say good night to everybody that came on this evening. Michael Blanco, thank you very much. Kenneth Donaldson, thank you. Thank you. R. Williams, thank you. I hope I didn't bore you with the politics. We won't be talking that too much, buddy. Jim from Vermont, thank you very much, buddy. I'm glad you're here, man. It was a great election. You are correct. R. Williams, firearms. We're going to get back to that. I promise you, buddy. I promise you, but this is important. Bear, thank you very much. Ken Donaldson. Yes, you were right. Ken said Trump got elected by Americans who were sick of the mess that we were in. Amen, brother. Amen. Thank you very much, Rick Shepard, for asking how I was feeling. I'm feeling okay. I did give it to Mama. She wasn't very happy about that. Jose Fernandez, as always, thank you very much from Puerto Rico. You're always a champ for us, Chris. Thank you very much, Chris Haas. Um, Matt Rod, thank you very much, and good night, sir. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. God willing. God bless. Be safe. And remember, you are your first line defense. I love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.